Forget everything you think you know about the Wild West. We're talking about a governor who wore boots made from human skin, getting arrested for having bad breath, and superstitions so crazy they could literally get you killed. The movies got it all wrong. The real Wild West was absolutely insane. When you hear Old West, you probably picture gunfights and cowboys, right? Wrong. The reality was 100 times crazier and way more disgusting. We're about to count down 20 of the most unbelievable things from the Old West that they never show you in movies. I'm talking about insane laws, disgusting hygiene, and medical cures that will blow your mind. Let's get into it. Bizarre laws and public order. You know how everyone in movies has a gun? That's completely wrong. A ton of towns like Dodge City and Tombstone had insane gun control. To stop all the violence, you had to check your guns at the sheriff's office or even a saloon. It was literally a coat check, but for your gun. It didn't stop all the crime, but it proves the Wild West wasn't as wild as you think. Public executions as entertainment. This is crazy. Justice wasn't just served, it was a full-on public party. They turned hangings into a giant festival. I'm not kidding. Families, kids, food vendors, everyone would show up to watch. It was a super grim form of entertainment that shows you how brutal life was back then. Sunday laws. You will not believe this. Some towns had these weird blue laws to keep Sunday holy. One of the absolute strangest? It was illegal to eat ice cream on a Sunday. Ice cream! Nobody knows exactly why, but can you imagine getting fined just for eating ice cream? Fines paid in goods. Out on the frontier, nobody had cash, so the courts had to get creative. If you were found guilty, instead of paying money, you'd pay with stuff. There's a real case where a guy paid his fine by giving the judge and the marshal warm clothes. Imagine getting a speeding ticket, but instead of cash, you pay the cop with a new jacket. It's actually kind of genius. Strange social norms and customs. This is going to sound insane, but they took pictures with dead bodies, especially famous outlaws. To prove they got the bounty, they'd prop up the corpse, snap a photo, and then sell the pictures as souvenirs. People actually bought these. Gambling as a respected profession. Today, being a professional gambler is seen as kind of sketchy. Back then, you could be as respected as a doctor. In some towns, a great poker player was a local celebrity. For a lot of people, gambling wasn't just a bad habit, it was a real high-stakes career. The scarcity of women. The gender imbalance on the American frontier was striking. Some settlements had as many as 9 men for every woman. With so few women around, men often danced with each other at social gatherings. To keep things organized, one man would tie a handkerchief around his arm to signify he was taking the ladies' role for the dance. This creative solution let everyone enjoy the festivities, even in the wildest corners of the West. The courting ritual of bundling dating in early America could get pretty strange. One unusual courting ritual was called bundling. To allow an unmarried couple some private time, they were sometimes permitted to sleep in the same bed, but with strict precautions. The pair would stay fully clothed, and a large wooden board might separate them down the middle of the bed. In some cases, they were even sewn into giant sacks or bundling bags for the night, just to make sure nothing improper happened. It's hard to imagine such a setup today, but for many it was a practical solution to the challenges of courtship in a crowded, conservative world. Shocking hygiene and medical practices. You think you hate showering? These guys almost never bathed. I'm talking weeks or even months. Water was too valuable. If you bathed twice a week, people thought you were a complete weirdo. And get this, the entire family would use the same disgusting bathwater before changing it. Community toothbrushes and twig dentistry. This one might just top the list for gross out factor. Dental hygiene in early America was pretty much a wild west of its own. Toothbrushes were rare and expensive, so most folks just chewed on twigs to clean their teeth. In some poor or crowded households, people might even share a single toothbrush. Definitely not the most hygienic solution. And if you got a toothache, forget the dentist. You'd head to the local blacksmith or barber who would yank out the offending tooth with a pair of pliers, sometimes after a stiff shot of whiskey to dull the pain. It was rough, it was raw, and it makes you appreciate modern dentistry a whole lot more. Back in the days when laundry was a rare luxury, people were often plagued by body lice, so common they even had a nickname, seam squirrels. These tiny pests loved to hide and lay their eggs in the seams of shirts and trousers, making life a constant itchy misery. But it wasn't just uncomfortable. Body lice could spread deadly diseases like typhus, turning an annoyance into a real threat. To get rid of them, folks had to boil their clothes or, in desperate cases, burn them entirely. It was a scratchy, dangerous reality that makes modern laundry day seem like a breeze. Weird superstitions and beliefs. Cowboys had some crazy rules, and the number one rule was never put your hat on a bed, ever. They believed it would cause fights, bad luck, injuries, or even death. It probably started because of lice, but it became this huge superstitious rule that everyone followed. Fear of the color yellow. This is so random, but rodeo cowboys were terrified of the color yellow. They believed it was the unluckiest color on earth, and that wearing it would get you seriously hurt in the arena. A cowboy would rather ride a chicken than wear a yellow shirt. St. Elmo's fire. Imagine you're out on the plains in a storm, and suddenly your horse's ears and the cattle's horns start glowing with this spooky electric blue light. They had no idea it was just static electricity, so they thought it was ghosts. It would cause a massive panic among the cattle and the cowboys. Burying the dead with their vices. When outlaws died, they didn't go empty-handed. They were literally buried with their favorite gun, a deck of cards, and a bottle of whiskey. It was like a starter pack for the afterlife, to make sure everyone knew they were a hard-living legend, even in death. Food, diversity, and daily grind. Think you could handle an Old West diet? Think again. Forget sizzling campfire steaks. Most days, meals were all about survival. Cowboys and pioneers often gnawed on rock-hard biscuits called hardtack, so tough they could actually break your teeth. When food ran low, you ate whatever you could catch. Squirrels, snakes, prairie dogs, and yes, even bugs if things got desperate. Out on the frontier, you didn't eat for pleasure. You ate to stay alive. If you were picky, you probably wouldn't last long. Hollywood completely lied to you. They show nothing but white cowboys, but the truth is 1 in 4 cowboys was black. 1 in 4. And tons more were Mexican or Native American. These guys were the absolute backbone of the West, even if they don't get the credit they deserve. The barber surgeons. Need a haircut? Head to the barber. Need a tooth pulled or even a minor surgery? You'd still go to the barber. Back then, barbers weren't just in charge of your hair. They were the town's all-in-one medical experts, handling everything from bloodletting to broken bones. Their steady hands made them the go-to for all sorts of procedures. It's wild to think the same person giving you a trim might also be the one patching you up or pulling your aching tooth. Boots made of human skin. And at number 1, this is the most messed up thing I have ever heard. There was this outlaw, Big-Nosed George Parrott. After he was executed, a doctor literally skinned him and had his skin tanned to make a pair of shoes in a medical bag. And then that doctor, who later became the governor of Wyoming, wore the human skin shoes to his own inauguration party. I am not making this up. That is the most insane, horrifying story from the Wild West, period. So, from public toothbrushes to literal human skin boots, the real Old West was 1,000 times crazier than anything you'll see in the movies. It was a non-stop battle for survival where everything was weird, gross, and unbelievably dangerous. These stories just prove that history is way, way stranger than you think. Which one of these facts blew your mind the most? Let me know in the comments right now. And if you can't believe how crazy history is, do not forget to destroy that like button, subscribe for more insane stories, and ring that bell so you never miss a video.